can I just commend you all? This is like an awesome class. I'm like really, really happy to be here because you guys are smart, engaged, intelligent, with a sense of humor and life. So thank you very much for that. But I really, without participation in the class, it's like a bummer. I wouldn't want to do this. But you guys are like, there's enough of a thought process that you all have out there that's just very, very edifying and helpful. So thank you for that. A few hours ago, we put this basic human needs matrix up here, and I'm just putting that back in front of us just to remind us of the things that really people need in order just to function in human interaction, human society, human organizations. Like this is, without these things, life is just a bummer. You know, it's just like, who would want to do it? It would be like, Lord, take me home. You know, if I'm going to work for someone but they don't love me and I don't love them, who would want to do that? You know, and in a sense, I think maybe that's why we're here, is that we haven't found these things in the places that we've been, and that really, when we found the real thing, it's like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for, you know. And remember, I went to Bible college out of high school a long time ago, and the biggest thing I sensed about when I got to Bible college is, hey, people do not make fun of me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Not that I wasn't like a picked on kid. I could defend myself, but just in terms of friends, and they're always on you, and you know, you're dressed wrong, and you're this, and you're that. And it's just like a way of life to say unkind things to each other, to hold your ground and to make yourself feel better. And then I come to Bible college, it's like people like building me up, you know, and it's like, whoa, I've never had someone build me up before, you know. And even, I mean, I'm not going to name, but there's one family member in particular of mine. It's like you cannot build them up because they will not let you. They cannot receive kindness. You say something good about them, it's like, what was that all about? You know, enough of that. You know. And then an organization I worked in, this company I worked in some years ago. I was like, you know, our boss. He was an amazing. That's why he started the company. He found that he was a very capable guy, good salesman. That's why the company existed. And I said, you know, I just said, you know, I won't name the guy, but man, you know, when you get out there and get on the phones, things happen. It's like amazing. And I got shut down. It's like we're not allowed to say kind things about each other because people can't receive it. And I think it's because of self-image, and they don't really believe it about themselves. I don't know, you know, what it is, but so these things are like very important. And but like if you go down this right-hand column, you know, do you like me? Do you want me around? Are you teaching me the things I need to know so that I can go forward and know what's going on? Do I know even what this is all about so I have a sense of purpose? And do I know what the policies are so that I know when I'm do something, it's not the wrong thing? Like I don't have to be guessing what's right and what's wrong around here. To make all those things happen, it requires communication, right? Without some information being exchanged in life, but it's still information. It's like these things cannot happen without that. I mean, you know, you think about this book, right? It's the Word, right? You know, Jesus Christ was the Word, God's communication to us, and we bring that right down into our daily life with how we think about how we're going to, you know, conduct, you know, and manage the organization that we're a part of, and be a member of it. And that's why we have this. If I can just flip down to it. That's why we have this definition for meetings that we came up with. You know, what is a meeting? It's a place or a means of providing the needs of the staff so they can function in the goals of the organization. And I could expand that. You know, the word function I'm a little bit not happy with because it makes it sound like they're just doing their job. But no, it's so they can function in life and, you know, long-term success in the goals of the organization. So that's why we would have meetings. That's the purpose of it. And if you read, you know the cartoon Dilbert? Who reads that? Okay, and it's like, it's the opposite of everything. Yeah, I don't know, I don't watch it because it's not like a clean show, but there's this show, The Office. I've seen clips of it a little bit at times, but I don't watch it anymore because it's off color. But when I first turned that on, it's a comedy. But when I first turned it on, it was like so painful watching, they were making jokes out of it, but because I've lived through those things in organizations, it was like almost too much for me to watch. It's like, oh my God, don't bring that back to me. I don't live in that anymore. But it's well known, like in the Dilbert comic, or you watch The Office, some of these other things, that meetings, people hate meetings. People don't want to go to meetings. Oh my God, another meeting. And the reason why people don't like meetings is because how we've defined the meeting here is not what's happening in those meetings, generally speaking. The meetings that these people don't want to go to are meetings, and what's wrong with them is, number one, they're top-down, and there's nothing wrong with top-down, but if that's all it is, then it becomes wrong. So number one, they're top-down, and number two, the way the organization is communicated in those meetings doesn't fit the day-to-day reality that people experience, how they're treated the other 39 hours of the week. So things will be said in the meeting like, hey, I want to get us all on the same page on this. I want you to be excited about this. And people sitting in the room are saying, you want me to be excited about this? Like, are you kidding me? You want me to be on the same page? No one's on the same page. You don't know what's going on. You don't know anything about my job, and you don't care. And you want me to get on the same page with you? And it's like, I will do the minimum, same page with you, to make sure I keep collecting my paycheck and I don't lose my job. That's how it goes. And I think many of us have been in these situations. Like even this class, what I'm saying? It's like I was talking to Chad. I want this to be like a great class, not because of me, but because of you. And I went to a Bible college where some of the classes we didn't like to go to. It was a great Bible college. It was a long time ago, but some of the classes, like, oh my God, we got to go to that class, and it was required, so you would go. But I don't, this should be like very good news, and I know you get tired, and I don't expect you to be up, all the time. I know how that goes, but this is like, if I go to a meeting and I know that something is going to go on in that meeting that's going to help me, that's like amazing. Of course I'm going to go to that. Is this meeting a source of life for me? And of course I'm putting it in administrative organizational terms, but to put it in spiritual terms, a meeting is a place, there's a life flow, so people can be built up in Christ and function effectively, But I'm putting it in these terms on purpose because that's what this specific course is. So the meeting isn't to meet the need of the boss, you know what I'm saying? And especially not to help him with his ego problem, not to help him with his anger problem, not to help him with his frustration or with his disappointment. And like why would a boss even be there? How does he even get there? And it can happen to you or me, the people sitting in this room, it can happen to you. And the reason the boss gets there is because he hasn't taken Pastor Taggart's course in administration, doesn't know how to manage, is doing things the wrong way, and then is frustrated with the results and blames the people he's talking to instead of going back and finding out, what am I doing wrong? Why are the people working for me unhappy? Okay? So this is why we have meetings. Okay? And let me just go down to the next thing here. I think I made a little list last time, but I'm going to try and reproduce it here. These meetings are on purpose. I don't so much need you to memorize this list, but it's just to help us think about it. On a schedule, with content, and finally, with life. Okay, now the on purpose is that I know what I need to be hearing as a human being. And if I need to be hearing it, the people who work for me need to be hearing it also. So I'm on a purpose to cover them, to help them, to provide an environment in which they can function And I know they need to be hearing from me in order to do that. Okay, so I do it on purpose. And there can be like a great attack on this. And again, it comes back to insecurity. The attack can be the people that are working with you that you want to meet with. They're not really interested in hearing from you. You know, and then you get a little bit insecure about that. And then, you know, the next step is, but they ought to be meeting and they ought to like it. So now I just ramp the insecurity up to the next level. And then I call them into a room. And because I'm insecure, I want to control the meeting and monopolize the communication because I'm afraid of what might come out if I let communication open up. So that's like the downhill spiral of meetings and of organizations. But I'm meeting on purpose because I know that these folks need to be built up. They need life. They need encouragement. They need definition. They need to tell me what they need so I can give it to them, you know. And that's why, and I know there's also a spiritual attack on the meeting for that very reason. So we meet on purpose, like with great purpose, because we really know it's a matter of spiritual or organizational survival for us to be together. Okay, that's why it's on purpose. And the purpose is really why it's on a schedule. And I don't, when I say on schedule, what I don't mean is that, you know, every Monday at 10 a.m. we got to meet or else, you know, we failed and we have to like make that a religious thing. But I mean, we need to schedule it to make sure it happens. Because there is a deception that will come in, and the deception we've talked about, but, oh, maybe we don't need a meeting this week. And sometimes you don't. I understand that. But you combine that thought with a little bit of insecurity, a little bit of passivity, right? A little bit of carnality, and then meetings drift and they stop happening. And it's because you as the leader have been remiss and you need to on purpose gather people together. You know, it's like, I think I've talked about this, but this is years ago, a friend of mine talked about soul winning, you know, and that when it's time to go soul winning, I don't know if it hits you this way, but there's always that little bit of like attack that comes on you, like that little bit of resistance that you kind of got to overcome, and then you get to that first door, and then you're cooking, and then someone slams the door and it's like, great, now I'm in God's will. It's like you go forward, you know. It's like, this is awesome, you know, but just to get there, and it's like I don't know, getting out of bed in the morning. I mean, if I think about it too much, I got to get up and get going. You know, there's just things I have to do, and I can't think about them. Coming to church is not a decision for me. You know, if I made it a decision, things would start going south, you know, because it's like I could come up with reasons not to go. I just go. I go 3 times a week, and that's what I do, unless I can't, which happens a few times a year, you know. And it's like with meetings also. This is just like what we do. So it's on purpose because we know the great purpose behind it, that people will not survive. Don't be attacked that it's not necessary. Don't be attacked as, oh, you just want to hear yourself talk. That's another way the attack can come to you as a leader, you know. I don't know what else it might, but, you know, don't be attacked when people look like they're not interested. You know, people wake up in the morning. You guys, again, I don't know how you guys do it. You work all day, and then we're still at class 3 hours at night. God bless. I'm surprised anybody's awake here. You know what I'm saying? Everybody stand up, please, right in your seat, okay? Put your right arm out, okay? And now just go like this. All right, there we go. Ooh, oh, yeah. Okay, great. Now left arm. Okay, there we go. All right. Oh, yeah, okay. You can be seated now. Okay, very good. We do jumping jacks. But it's like, you know, people will look at you. I mean, even as, you know, you folks out there who preach, you know that, you know, out of 100 people, probably 2 or 3 like really look interested. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of find those people in the audience and look at them because they'll give you that feedback you need to keep going. But don't worry about that. I mean, think about how you look when you're listening, and it's like, it doesn't mean you're not interested. So all these things will come against you, so it's on purpose, on a schedule, but then with content, right? And that content, well, there's 2 pieces of content that I'm going to highlight right now, okay? Content number 1 is that we love each other. Okay. Content number 2 is remember why we're doing this. Okay? And again, this is I'm putting it this way to make it very obvious and specific. And you know, if you walk into a meeting every week and say to everybody, "I love you," you know, that'll get old. People get sick of that after a while. You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's just but there's different ways to communicate it. And remember why we're doing this. Is like the greatest thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? We're not counting money. You know what I'm saying? We are supporting and making this whole thing possible, tell you, in the finance office. You know what I'm saying? Worldwide missions. It's like we got Pastor Ben here. That's why we do what we do in the finance office. You know, it's like the greatest. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else in the world than what I'm doing right now, because it's like amazing. And not everybody can do it, right, Taya? You know what I'm saying? It's not like an easy job. You know, there's people who are gifted to do it, and it's like awesome, and we kind of handpick these people as best we can. I told you about the whole hiring process for Taya, right? It's like that didn't just happen. You know, it was like we interviewed, she was over in Finland at the time, but it was really, you know, Yulia's recommendation, knowing her, you know, family and everything, that no, Taya's a good one. You sure she's going to be okay? Yeah, trust me on this one. So we hired her, and of course she's Finnish, so she's very accurate, you know, systematic, exactly what we needed. But it's like it's not anybody can do it. There's people in this room that I could put in the finance office and you could not do the job. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, but it's like just realize that, you know. So we got members in particular, but why are we doing it? It's to make this whole thing go. That's why we're doing this, and we want to keep that in front of us, and this is the greatest thing in the world. So that's the content of every meeting, one way or another. It's why we meet, and then we're going to make it you know, more specific in a moment here. And then the last thing is with life. And I know I mentioned this a class or two ago, and I said, how do you get life? You go to God and beg Him for it. But even that's not even a formula. How does life happen, God? I don't know. You got to make it happen. You got to give me life. And sometimes it's through prayer and tears, and sometimes it's through winging it. I don't know how that goes. But if you're the leader, you're the guy. There's this motivational speaker called Charlie Tremendous Jones, and he's been gone for some years now. So you probably, you know, the more contemporary younger folks have not heard of him. Probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, he was the speaker at a NBC&S banquet. So it's not like ancient history, but again, I think he's passed from the scene, but he's written books, you know, Life is Tremendous, one of his well-known books. So anyway, what he says is this, and I don't know if he said it at the banquet or he said it in one of his books, but he says this. He says, here's a secret, everybody. Nothing works, okay? Nothing works, okay? You have to make it work, okay? That's why you're there, because it takes you to make it work, okay? How do you make it work? I don't know. I'm not in your situation. I don't have your people. I don't have your calling. I don't have your job. I don't know what that is, but you got to wake up in the morning, and between you and God, you got to come up with something that you're going to, you know, bring into your organization, into your people, and that life is going to happen. You know, I think it's the filling of the Holy Spirit, but it's also spontaneity. And I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I see you guys nodding out there, at least the two of you that are still awake. Thank you for that. But it's like this is like so important, you know. And if I walk into a meeting bored, people are going to be bored with the meeting, you know. And where's that freshness come from? It's got to come from God. But even morning devotionals don't make it happen. You know what I'm saying? There is no formula other than God, here we are, new man's, and I'm going for it, and give me something. Whether I'm sure some of the preachers here, sometimes you get in the pulpit and you're not quite sure how it's going to go, but you get up there by faith, okay? And this is how we want to be conducting our meetings, like believing in them, never meeting for the sake of meeting, but in some sense, loving each other for the sake of loving each other, yes. Celebrating our purpose for the sake of it, yes. In that sense, yes. So we meet and we do it, and that's a way of life. And again, like I say, the attack on us will be that oh, we don't need to meet so much. You know, it's not so important. I know what my job is. They're not interested. I don't want to hear from the boss. Nothing changes, you know. And again, if you have meetings and nothing ever does change, people are not going to come to those meetings very long unless you make them, right? Which is no fun to be making people come to meetings, you know. So this is, I would want you to know this. I'm not quite sure how I'd ask it, but I want you to know, like, why, not the agenda so much of the content of meetings, but the why of meetings, okay? Which goes back to the definition we gave. And then also to this, like, I don't know what to call this right now. Maybe I'll think of something here. I don't know. Okay, now, so we're going to talk about meetings now, which is like the agenda and the content. And remember, none of this is a law. You're going to take this and throw out what doesn't work. You're going to adapt it into what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But you're also going to give me some benefit of the doubt that I didn't, you know, this is coming from somewhere. So there's the long meeting, okay? And then the short meeting. You're impressed with this, aren't you, Jamie? Like, this is brilliant, Pastor Taggart. Long meeting and short meeting. And then there is the personal meeting. Okay? And we're going to talk about each of these types of meetings. And they are different. And they have different reasonings, different things behind them. But maybe we're going to start off with the long meeting. Okay? MTG, that's just an abbreviation for meeting. And what I would say about the long meeting, I would suggest that you would have these meetings on like a 1-week frequency, you know? Why is that? We'll talk about it. But I would say these are weekly. Okay? Running these meetings is really an art form. And you kind of need to know what you're doing. You need to get a feel for it, be aware of the elements of it. And I personally believe that I do it this way. So this is the long meeting. And I break it down into some parts. Okay? The first thing I would do is that I would have some sort of devotional thought. Okay? And I would start off with that. Why would I start off with a devotional thought? Is because what that immediately does is it reminds everybody of why we're doing what we're doing. Okay? We're doing it because of God. All right? The second thing it does is it brings in the anointing or the presence of God. And it's going to take people in that room whose minds are on a million things. Maybe they're irritated by something, they're bothered by something, and we're going to lift their eyes off of what's bothering them, and we're going to put it on Christ, and that's going to put them in a place where they can even be together effectively, receive, give, and participate in body life. Now, the third thing it's going to do for, like, me as a leader, it's, you know, in the same time I'm like helping other people, it's also going to help me because I'm going to remember who I am in Christ. And this is like my experience as a pastor, but I think it would relate to fathers. I think it would relate to just to team leaders who may or may not be ordained. We all have the opportunity to communicate life to people, communicate the Word of God. And we find that in ministering to others, we are ministered to ourselves. Okay, so I walk in, I feel like I got nothing today. Okay, God, here goes. By faith, I'm going to open up this Bible, and I'm going to communicate a thought from you, and I find myself edified in the midst of it. And because, of course, in Greater Grace World Outreach, but I think churches in general, but ours in particular, people have such a built-in reverence for the Word of God, which is why they're here, not because of me, not, they're here because of God. It just amazingly, will, it's not magic, but it will gel people together and just set the stage for what's to follow, okay? And it kind of meets some of those basic needs we're talking about. Now, the second part of the meeting would be like what I would call maybe the top-down. I've got stuff that I've got to download today. I'm going to tell people how I want things done. I'm going to bring up something that's been happening. Okay, so there might be like a, instructional download, whatever you want to call this part of the meeting. Okay, and that's going to meet another need. You're teaching the team how to do their job. You got to be careful with this, and we'll talk about how to be careful with it. But people need to be hearing. They need to be hearing definition. Okay, as instructional downloading the definition part of the meeting. Definition. Okay. Now that doesn't have to be second. It can be further down in the meeting. Now, the third thing that you're going to do is you're going to have a time in the meeting to make sure, I just messed that up, okay, to hear from the staff, okay? And that third one is the hardest one, but if you're out there in a for-profit company, that's the one that'll make you rich. Okay, that's the tricky one. If you're in the church, it's the one that's going to energize your team. Just like in this class, I want you to be engaged. I want you to own, to have buy into this class. That's why we hand the mic around, so that we can be hearing from you. And it's like, hey, I got something to say here. I like this class because I'm teaching part of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm into it. And that's the other reason why I do that. I want to show you that's how it's done. And if you do that in your staff meetings, like I say, that's the one that's going to bring your staff to life and make it awesome, okay? And then the fourth part, it's not really the fourth part of a meeting, but it's like a fourth point to it. You're going to have the meeting long enough to bring out unexpected things. Okay? And I think we'll probably cover that. I'm sorry I didn't write unexpected very well, but that's what it says, unexpected things. In other words, if you've got this meeting on a tight schedule, okay, here's our agenda, A, B, C, D, and E, and then you close the meeting, okay, you are never going to hear from your people things that you need to be hearing from them, okay? Because they're not as organized as you are. I mean, maybe they're more organized, but you know what I'm saying? You want to have that part of the meeting where people can think about stuff. Hey, I just thought of this. Here's an idea. And I understand you can't do that all the time, but you need that time. And that's like the creativity, And those of us who have run businesses, those of us who are pastors, those of us who are leaders, we know as a pastor, you got to have that time alone with God when you're not on a schedule, not preparing for a message. You can just sit there and be quiet and just, let's look at this passage. I never thought about it. That's where your life comes from God. And businessmen out, in the business world, you got to have that. I don't know if you do it at 6 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, but you got to be dreaming about your business. And the people that God gives you in your organization, they have dreams also. They have creativity. And if they're allowed to express it, they're going to be happier, but it's going to help you as the leader. Now, why is it going to help you? Every joint supplies, but let's put it in different terms, okay, is that you do not need to be the smartest guy in the room. All right? It's not important that you know more than everybody. It's not important that you have all the answers. It's not important that you always have the final word if you want it, but it's not so important that people are very, very aware of who you are and how important you are. Okay? You do it this way, you're going to get probably most of the respect that you need. Okay? You'll probably have someone who's on your staff in your organization. They're a little bit abrupt in their manner, or they're a little bit wisecracky in the way they communicate. Let them do it, okay? Let them do it. And what that will do is that you will see with people like that, they will not get worse, they will get better. They're that way. You know, why would someone be a little bit like sharp or sarcastic like that? It's because they have an identity their whole life that they've never been allowed to express themselves. There's always been someone over them who has suppressed them because they were insecure, didn't want to hear what they had to say, and you finally give people a chance to say what they have to say, and they will relax. 9 out of 10 will, okay? The 10th one you got to get rid of. But the other 9, okay, they will relax, and they will get better as time goes on. So you have 2 types of people, all right? The people that, like, give you more than you want, you know, they give you an earful, all right? And then the ones that won't talk, okay? And that's, you know, we got to learn how to handle both of those people. But the ones who are giving you like an earful, your attitude has to be is, thank you, you are telling me something that no one else will tell me, and thank God for abrasive people like you in this room, because you're telling me something that I needed to know. I don't need people who tell me stuff I already know, right? How's that helping me? You know, I need people who will tell me stuff that I don't know so we can make corrections. And you have kind of like this tip of the iceberg phenomenon where the person who's talking and saying something, they're saying what everybody else in the room is thinking, usually, but no one else dares to say it because they have you know, maybe sometimes a view of leadership that we just want to like balance a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And that, anyway, I'm just trying to think where I want to go with this thought. But anyway, that you want these people to be talking, and that's why you need this time, okay? Long enough to bring out unexpected things, time to be hearing from the staff. And if you're doing that, it's going to be a fun meeting because people come in a room, they're with their friends, they're telling jokes, they're talking, they're saying stuff, and like, this is great. You know, I could do this all day. Okay, everybody get out of here, you're going to go back to work. You know what I'm saying? We can't do this all day. But that's the type of meeting and attitude that you want to be generating in these meetings, okay? And I know this may seem kind of like funky, and do we really have to do it this way? No, do it any way you want to do it. I'm just giving you some stuff that I think will help you, and I want you to hear it, and I want you to know it. And think about the places that you've worked. Think about the job you hated that you wrote this thing about, and ask yourself, if they had done it this way and really meant it, would I have hated my job so much? Or would things have gotten better? Would they have, you know, changed? Would there have been some sort of venue? And this, to me, is practical body life. Not only is it scriptural, but it also works, and you're hearing from a guy who has done it both ways. I've been the insecure guy. I've made all these mistakes. I've been fired from stuff for making these mistakes, for thinking it had to be my way. And it just doesn't have to be your way. It doesn't. Now, you do, I mean, in a sense, you are the steward of the goals of the organization. All right? In the church, you know, that the church has a vision. We're going to win the lost. We're going to build up the body. How are we doing it? We'll do A, B, and C. So some of those things are just way bigger than you. And you've got to hold those things up, you know? If someone in a staff meeting says, hey, do we really have to believe the Bible? Yes, we really do. That's a non-negotiable. That's part of the vision and mission of the organization, and you hold that up. And when that thing is threatened, you've got to say, no, it's going to go this way. Understand why. This is what we believe here. This is what we're doing here. This is why we're doing it. And of course, the people who are working for you, they have to agree with the goals of the organization. Otherwise, why would they be there? You know, and that's the sad thing that happens out in the world with jobs. People take jobs because they got to eat. They need money, so they join organizations that they don't care about. They don't support the goals, and that's just a bad thing. Now, I'm going to close with this anecdote because I think we've given enough content tonight. But it's it's not, you know, like a Christian thing or anything. But it's two guys go to work, like, I don't know, 1945 or something, for a railroad, you know, and that's when people were paid, you know, $10 a day or whatever. And 25 years later, one of the guys is still out there, you know, pounding spikes in with a sledgehammer, and the other guy is the president of the railroad, you know, and it's like, well, how did this happen? You two started at the same time, and here's the difference. Person A, who became the president, he went to work for the railroad, okay? Person B, who's pounding the spikes in still, he went to work for $10 a day. See the difference? What was your motivation? What are you doing here? You know, and bring it right into the church. You know, what is it that you're doing here? Why are you volunteering to teach Sunday school? Why are you volunteering to serve in the food bank? Is it because you feel bad about yourself as a Christian, and you're here because God is mad at you and He wants you to do more? And if you do a lot, you think you can start to feel better about yourself, and you'll get noticed and be given a position, and then you'll really feel good about yourself? Is that what you're doing here? Like, why would you do that? Because you don't understand the finished work? Or are we here on a finished work foundation placed there by God? It's like the greatest thing on earth just to be part of the body of Christ. You know, this statement, this was made decades ago. Stevens School of the Bible. Her name was Karen Simone. I haven't seen her in decades. I don't know if you know her, probably not. But she was the valedictorian of her class, I don't know, 1979 or whatever. And this is it. To know Jesus Christ through the corporate body is the highest calling there is. You know what I'm saying? And if we can just like get a hold of that, this is like amazing. I don't care what I do. Now, I don't care, even the I don't care what I do, that can be a weird statement depending on who's making it, you know? I've heard more people say they don't care if they clean toilets when they really do care, you know what I'm saying? And they're just saying that. But you know what I mean? It's like, well, I'll do whatever you want me to do, God. If it's something small, or I don't even evaluate along those lines anymore, like whether people are noticing or not, you know? And maybe that's enough. You guys are awesome. Go home and get some sleep, and we'll continue to talk along these lines. Okay? All right.